Is there ever any possibility that you would go back in the ring and fight someone like a Tank Davis?
If you want, then if you come up to 147, then we can fight.
He can't meet you at 140?
145 maybe.
Just the helmet, then fighting somebody like Pacquiao. It doesn't matter who I fight. It doesn't matter. As long as I put on a great performance.
He's the knockout king of this generation, short, stocky, and silent until it's time to explode. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't need to talk much, his fists handle the narrative. But before his next war in the ring, a strange rumor began to circulate. Not about his opponent. Not about weight. But about who he might be training with, Manny Pacquiao. Yes, that Manny. The 8th Division legend. The Southpaw Storm who danced around De La Hoya, battered Cotto, and dropped Thurman like he owed him money. Could it be real? Was the king of a past era helping shape the monster of this one? There was no confirmation. No photo. No press conference. Just whispers. Fan edits. Maybe a little wishful thinking. But in boxing, sometimes a rumor punches harder than a fact. The idea of Tank and Pac-Man in the same gym set the internet on fire, not because it was expected, but because it made sense. What could Gervonta Davis learn from Pacquiao? What could the old general still teach a crown champion? And what would it mean for their legacies if that connection were real?
Table. It's always a little better than I thought.
Oh, hitting down again. And now you make a real man. That's it. Ricky had.
This wasn't idle speculation. It was a dream fans couldn't ignore. Two southpaw monsters. One rising, one eternal. Even if they never actually trained together, the fantasy alone could shift the sport's energy. It started the way all great boxing myths do, vague, unverifiable, just believable enough. A blurry image. A cryptic comment. A tweet, Tank spotted near wild card. Pacquiao helping with footwork? No source. No confirmation. Just enough smoke to spark a fire. Soon came the YouTube thumbnails in all caps, TikToks of edited sparring, and Instagram posts comparing their knockouts. In 48 hours, the sport was buzzing. What made it believable wasn't just the footage, it was the logic. Manny's still sharp. Wildcard Gym is still active. Gervonta has trained in LA before. And without Mayweather in his corner, fans started connecting the dots. But the rumor didn't need to be true. It only needed to feel right. It struck a fantasy where old-school brilliance meets new-school destruction. The volume puncher of the past guiding the cleanest finisher of today. In a sport desperate for lineage, this pairing made perfect sense. Fans, they needed it.
Manny Pacquiao. And let me tell you, that was just a quick punch. Yeah, probably.
Well, he's talked about his maturity, is that he seems kind of awkward. In this fight, he's not the one.
No statement came from Team Pacquiao. No denial from Davis's camp either. And that silence? It only added fuel. Boxing thrives in mystery. Why ruin a perfect story with boring reality? The rumor lived in that sacred place between fact and fiction where legends are born. Even if it never happened, fans felt like it did. Picture it, Tank walks into wildcard. Manny laces up. Let's work. What happens next isn't just sparring, it's a generational collision. Pacquiao, the chaos master. Davis, the calculated destroyer. In that gym, greatness echoes. Pacquiao's greatest weapon was unpredictability. He reset angles mid-fight, made you miss before you realized he moved. Davis is methodical, he waits, then punishes. If he learned how to add Pacquiao's rhythm disruption to his precision power? Terrifying. Picture Davis not just hitting hard, but throwing from odd angles, confusing and cracking opponents. And Manny? He gains connection. Purpose. Pacquiao has always been more than a fighter, a mentor. Watching Davis throw perfect uppercuts would be like seeing a new version of the Storm he once was. Then there's discipline. Pacquiao's camps were sacred: family, prayer, war. For Davis, who's had distractions outside the ring, that energy could be grounding. Not just coach-student, but brotherhood. Roach taught forward pressure. Davis's team trains reactive power. Together, they'd be a new hybrid. And imagine if Tank could mimic Pacquiao's volume, 5-shot flurries from ghost angles. That's no longer counter-punching. That's a full-fledged offensive storm. Even if they trained for just a day, it could change everything. Because they don't just share a stance. They share a mindset. Southpaws don't just punch differently, they think differently. Pacquiao breaks geometry with his movement. Davis stalks you with stillness. Both ignore the rule book. Both are nightmare matchups for anyone who trains traditionally. And both? Their left hands are deadly. Pacquiao's is a whip, Davis's, a hammer. But both disguise it so well, you don't see it coming until it's too late.
Hand by Pacquiao. That hurt Bradley. Leg lock. Right to that.
We see Pacquiao line that jab up and throw a beautiful straight left hand down.
If the rumor had any merit, this is where it matters: philosophy. How to own space as a southpaw. How to be unorthodox with intent. How to dominate not with strength, but with deception. Most fighters never master that. Manny and Tank? They're fluent in it. And while Davis ends fights in one shot, Pacquiao built his legacy overwhelming people with angles. Together, they would be chaos wrapped in calm. The opponent never sees it coming until the floor hits their back. Let's be real. The rumor wasn't confirmed. But could it still happen? Maybe. Pacquiao still trains. Still posts sharp mitt work. Still says, I could come back with a smile. And Davis? He's preparing for another massive fight. Pitbull Cruz rematch? Shakur? Haney? Whoever it is, Tank wants every edge. What if they cross paths? A few rounds at Wildcard? A quiet day in a Vegas gym? All it takes is one meeting. There's precedent. Pacquiao's trained with young fighters before. He's generous with knowledge. Just selective. And Davis? Despite the street-tough image, he's smart. He listens. He learns. Even if this story was just fantasy, it could still become fact. Imagine a single clip of them shadowboxing side by side. Not for clout, for evolution. Greatness meets greatness. And Pacquiao? His legacy's locked. But passing it on? That's how it lives forever. The door isn't closed. Not in boxing. One call. One nod. One shared look in the gym and fantasy becomes history. Because this sport isn't just fists. It's spirit. And if you strip away the media beef, the promos, and posturing, you see the truth. Pacquiao and Davis are wired the same. Both southpaws. Both compact. Both faced giants and fought like they didn't care. And both escaped hardship by punching their way out. Baltimore and General Santos, two different maps. Same fire.
Pacquiao's finest technique. Delivering powerful, sweeping, wide-arching left hook. Even the master of defensive prowess, Floyd Mayweather, did not escape from this devastating left hook.
Right, because in previous fights we've seen that he seems kind of awkward, but in this fight he's not a little...
Their styles overlap in dangerous ways. Pacquiao is angles and chaos. Davis is patience and precision. But what if Tank added even one of Manny's setups to his arsenal? That's a weapon. A fighter who closes distance unpredictably and finishes clinically? Nearly unbeatable. And they both pivot mid-fight, reset without warning. Misleading movement is their shared specialty. That isn't just instinct. That's a teachable art.
He seems kind of awkward, but in this fight he's not a little...
Mentally, they're aligned. Small circles. Deep loyalty. Manny stuck with Roach. Tank with Coach Calvin. They train quietly. No theatrics. Just work. If they trained together, it wouldn't be for the cameras. It would be real. Greatness doesn't need noise. It needs rhythm. Breathing. Shared space. 1 second where legacy looks into its own reflection and nods. The rumor wasn't just clickbait. It was symbolic. It asked, what if boxing wasn't divided by ego but united by lineage? What if Mayweather trained Shakur? What if Andre Ward mentored Haney? It happens rarely. But when it does, it's unforgettable. Bernard Hopkins giving Ennis advice. Fury praising Lennox Lewis. Real respect in a sport where it's rare. This rumor reminded us, boxing isn't either slash or. The new guard and the old don't have to fight for relevance. They can build together. Imagine if these moments happened more often. Quietly. Humbly. Willingly. Pacquiao and Davis didn't just spark excitement, they sparked possibility. Even if they never touched gloves, the idea connected eras. Photo never surfaced. The pads never clapped. But the idea landed like a clean left. It wasn't about training. It was about transmission. Legacy. The possibility that greatness isn't just what you do, but who you pass it to. And maybe, just maybe, the next great chapter in boxing starts not with a punch, but with a rumor that refused to die.